Okay, so are you ready to dive into this one? I'm pretty excited about this. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Oh, yeah. Sign me up. She's a Hollywood legend.
Yeah. And we've got some really choice excerpts here that you sent over, all about, well, obviously Evelyn Hugo herself,
Hmm.
but also her seven husbands.
Right.
And like some of these like big, like, whoa, the big
Join
themes,
the themes.
like ambition and fame. I mean, this book is really juicy. So let's see what we can uncover.
Sounds like a plan. I am ready to dive in. Evelyn Hugo, right? So mysterious, a total icon.
Right.
And she decides now to finally, reveal the truth. That's a great premise for a book.
I know. I know. Okay, so, one of the excerpts he sent me, it talks all about Evelyn's rise to fame.
Mm-hmm.
And she, she was beautiful, obviously, but she was also, like, ruthless. Like, she really, really wanted it.
Yeah.
And she knew how to work the system.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, what do you make of her ambition, especially in the context of, like, old Hollywood?
Well, that's the thing, right? This was Hollywood's golden age. And the book really digs into that, all the complexities of, what it meant to be ambitious, especially for women back then.
Totally.
Actresses, they had to, choose love or their career.
Right.
But they couldn't have both, and they had to, maintain the certain image,
Right.
and any little scandal could ruin them.
Yeah.
I mean, totally ruin them.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. And Evelyn, it seems like she kind of defies those expectations, but, like, at what cost?
Exactly. It
Yeah.
makes you wonder. That's what's
Yeah.
so great about this book. It makes you think.
Right, right. And speaking of defying expectations and, the cost of things, I mean, there's the whole seven husbands thing,
Oh, yeah.
right? Which is, that's why we're all here.
Of course, of course.
It seems like each husband, like they all represent a different piece of her ambition.
Absolutely.
And, maybe the compromises she had to make.
Right.
I mean, you highlighted that passage about her second husband, the really famous director.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem like it was about love at all. It seems like it was about her career.
Well, yeah. It's all about power. That's what Hollywood was and is all about, really. And marrying a powerful director, that's ultimate power move for an actress back then. It meant she got to choose her roles, shape her image.
So smart.
It shows you how sharp she was. It wasn't just beauty and talent. This woman, she was a strategist.
Totally, totally. It's almost like each husband, he's like a stepping stone,
Yeah.
pushing her higher and higher in her career. It makes you think, though, like, were any of these relationships real?
Oh, that is the question, right?
Or was it all just, like, calculated?
That's what's so good about this book. It makes you wonder. You keep going back and forth. Was it love? Was it a power move?
Right. And then there's that part you marked this passage about her lavender marriage.
Right.
Which, like, that's a marriage of convenience just to, like, hide who she really is.
Exactly. And that was so common back then. Especially in Hollywood. It was all about appearances.
Totally.
And the studios, they controlled everything. And there was so much homophobia back then. So many people were forced to live in secret.
And that Evelyn was willing to do that.
Yeah.
To enter into a marriage like that, it's like, that tells you everything about how far she was willing to go.
Yeah, it shows you how much she was willing to sacrifice for her career.
It's like her ambition, it wasn't just about fame, it was about, like, survival,
Oh, totally.
and control in a system that was, like, designed to, like, exploit people and silence them.
Yes, exactly. And that makes her decision to, finally tell her story
Oh, yeah.
even more interesting. It's like, why now? Why after all these years?
And there's that passage you pointed out where she chooses this, like, random journalist
Right.
to write her story, not someone, like, super famous, someone no one really knows. It makes you think it's like she's still trying to control the story even as she's telling it.
100%. And that's where the whole metafiction thing comes in.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a story, right? The author is also exploring what it means to tell a story.
Oh, I like that.
Who gets to tell it, whose voice matters, and how much control does the person, the subject of the story, how much control do they have?
Yeah. That's so meta. It's like a story within a story.
It is. And that adds so many layers to it. It makes you think about what's true, what's real, and what's just a performance.
Right, right. And, like, what's Evelyn's motivation here? Like, what's her end game? Is she trying to, like, clear her conscience? Does she want people to see her a certain way?
Right. Or is she just trying to set the record straight, but on her own terms? It's all up in the air.
And what about the journalist?
Mm.
Right. What about her? Does she, like, shape the story in some way? Or is she just, writing down what Evelyn tells her?
Those are the questions, right? That's what makes it so interesting. And you're going to like wrestle with those questions the whole time you're reading this book. But one thing's for sure, this story, it's not just about Hollywood. It's not just about being a star. It's a reflection of like what it was like back then, all the rules, all the things people had to hide, the sacrifices they had to make.
Ooh, so much to think about.
Right.
Before you jump into this book, I want you to consider this.
Okay.
Okay. So Evelyn's lived her whole life being like super private. And then all of a sudden, she decides to spill everything. Why now? And why this journalist? Like, what's really going on with her?
Ooh, that's a great question.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Figuring that out, well, that's part of the fun of this book. You're going to have to read it to find out.
Teacher.
Enjoy
Have fun.
The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. You're going to love it.